Right here is your warm-up. So I want you to solve these problems. So therefore you will need to pause the video, solve the problems, and raise your hand if you need any additional help. Today we are going to talk about solving absolute value equations. We've already done solving absolute value inequalities, so now we're going to do equations. On this slide, we should all know at this point that absolute value just makes your answer positive. So when looking at this first one, this is asking what number in here, when taking the absolute value, will give you a positive 4. So it'll be the absolute value of 4 gives you a positive 4, and the absolute value of negative 4 gives you a positive 4. And the same thing for the second one. The absolute value of 9 gives you the answer of positive 9. And then the absolute value of negative 9 gives you an answer of positive 9 as well. Now, there is no number where when you take the absolute value that will give you a negative answer, because absolute value always makes your answer positive. Therefore, there is no solution to that problem. So you should have noticed that when a variable is inside an absolute value, there are two solutions. When the absolute value is set equal to a negative number, that means there is no solution, there is no answer at all. So the question states, can you think of a situation where there would be one solution? And that is when the absolute value is equal to 0. That's the only time that you will have only one solution, one answer, is when it is 0. So let's start solving the equations. Now we have absolute value on the inside. That can equal two things. We can have x minus 5 equals a positive 12, or we can have x minus 5 equal a negative 12. So there are two separate equations that you need to solve. So to solve the first one, I need to add 5 on both sides. So x equals 17. Then I move over to my next one. Once again, add 5 to both sides. X equals negative 7. Yes, negative 7. So therefore, you're done. It could be two answers. It can be 17 or it can be negative 7. Here's the next one. So once again, you need to write it two different scenarios. So it can either equal a positive 4 or it can equal a negative 4. We will solve them each separately. So add 6 to both sides. You always want to do the opposite. You're left with 2x equals 10. The last thing that we need to do is divide by 2. So for this one, x equals 5. We move over to the second half. Do the opposite of minus 6, which is plus. This cancels out. We're left with 2x equals 2. We need to divide both sides by 2, and x equals 1. So for this problem, x is 5, and it can also be 1. Now, I want you to try and do number 3 on your own. Once you complete this, you need to raise your hand, call me, Miss Janice, and have me check your answer. Another example is when you have the absolute value equation when there are other terms outside of your symbols. So if you look, we have a -4 right here. And we only need just the absolute value on this side. So we need to move the -4 to the other side. Only way to do that is to do the opposite. So that's +4 plus 4. So now we're left with the absolute value of x plus 1 equals 16. And then we do like before, separate it into two equations. So x plus 1 can be positive 16, or x plus 1 can equal negative 16. So we solve them separately. Got +1, so you do the opposite, which is -1. So x equals 15. Then, once again, do the opposite of +1, which is -1. So x equals negative 17. So x can be 15, and x can also be negative 17. I'm going to do number 5, and then you will be left to do number 6 on your own. So I have +6 right here, and I need to move it to the other side. So the opposite of +6 is -6. So 3x minus 4 equals 4. I have a -4, and I need to move this to the other side. Do the opposite, which is +4. So therefore, I am left with 3x equals 8. The final thing I need to do, divide both sides by 3. So x equals 8/3. Okay, now you are responsible for doing the last problem, number 6, on your own. So pause the video, solve this one, and raise your hand for Miss Janice to come check your problem. Now, you need to tell me, Miss Janice, that you're ready for your assignment for today because you have completed your notes.